The year 2020 has been a year of change. Global changes have included COVID-19 pandemic, which has resulted in us all having to change our ways, especially with traveling on a global scale. Cutting down air traffic has bound many to their place when the regulations came. The world is not as small or open anymore as it used to be. On a regional scale, there have been wildfires and other natural catastrophes. In societies, some people have demanded rights that they should have by default, more visibly than in years, and there have been demonstrations and confrontations in many places around the world. Individually, people have also gone through changes. Some have lost or quit their job, some found a new one. Some have faced economic challenges and some have overcome them. Relatives, family members and friends have passed away and babies have been born. Relationships have been broken and new have been formed. We haven't been able to see some people important to us physically, but we've been able to connect to them and many others via technology. Children have had to do learning outside of school context and stay away from their important social groups. Adults have had to learn working from home, some meanwhile helping their children in education. We all have faced changes of some kind this year, big or small. We face changes normally also, but this year it has been more rapid, more serious and more visible, and more in number and ways. My name is Jani Kontkanen and you are listening to Mitä pelataan podcast. This series is called Paragons of Change. It's a series of interviews with people from boardgaming sphere whom I've noticed going through changes in recent times. We talk about change and what they have changed in their lives. By default, we do not claim we state facts. We only talk from our own points of view and our opinions. As the discussion might take a negative note at times, we try to finish with a positive, by giving you a top 9 list of games. The topic of the list has been chosen by the guest, and we will have a battle of the lists after the episode airs in my social media channels. You, dear listener, are encouraged to comment and vote on the lists to see which one of us did better. The award is pride and fame among the small listener base this podcast has. Now, let's invite our Paragon for today. So today, in the Paragons of Change, we have our 9th Paragon, the first one in the second set of interviews. Let's welcome Erik Summerer. Welcome, Erik.
Hello, great to be here.
How are you?
I'm doing well, a little frazzled, but otherwise good. And I think we're going to talk about why I've been frazzled lately.
Yeah. This year has been very interesting so far.
Yes.
I think it's probably been interesting on the other side of Atlantic Ocean as well, I think. But you've had some change recently, according to the very nice top 100 games video that you recorded and uploaded and I watched, and seems that you've changed house very recently.
That we did. One of the side effects of the COVID pandemic is that a lot of people in the New York City area, I live in Connecticut, have been fleeing and trying to find houses. And so the housing market has been very active in my area. And so we took the opportunity to sell our house and find something a little bigger, several towns over. We moved about an hour away from where we used to live, still in the state of Connecticut. But we have to do all of that, pack up all of your stuff, show off the house, sell the house, arrange the movers. And so we have settled in. We've been in the new house for about 2 weeks. I have reset up my voiceover studio. So today was my first day back in the saddle recording audiobooks, and it went well so far, which is good. Nothing got lost. All the cords and cables got reconnected the way they were supposed to. But we're still surrounded by boxes and still settling in and organizing and figuring out where everything is going to go in the new space. Mm-hmm.
I forgot to ask you that who are you and what do you do in the board gaming sphere if someone doesn't know?
Sure.
I'm so certain that everyone knows who you are.
I never want to assume that. It's always great to meet new people who don't know who I am, which is great. My name's Eric Summerer. For the past 10 or 11 years now, wow, I have been one of the co-hosts of the Dice Tower podcast. That is my evening job. During the day, I record audiobooks from my home. I have a little box, a whisper room that I record in. And if you search on audible.com, you'll find a bunch of my audiobooks. And I enjoy talking to myself for hours on end.
Are you now in the padded room?
I am currently in the padded room, yes.
Does it have corners?
It has corners, but they are well cushioned.
All right, as they should be. How many audiobooks have you recorded? Do you know?
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. It's somewhere between 250 and 300 at this point. It's easy to lose track.
Yeah, I assume so. You said when I asked you to join here that you've had lots of changes this year, besides this moving the house. What kind of changes have you had?
Well, we have had to sort of change the way I work. Ordinarily, I have an employee who comes to the house and helps run all of the technology and follows along on the script to make sure I read all the right words that are in front of me. Because often when I am in the thick of it and doing character voices or trying to pronounce difficult words in a nonfiction book, I will often miss a small word here and there, and I'll make mistakes because my brain is focusing on other things. So I need to have another person following along, making sure I'm as accurate as possible. And she would do that from my house, literally feet from me on the other side of this door. She would be sitting there and running everything and following along. And as the pandemic locked everything down, we were suddenly faced with, well, how do we keep working? Because the demand for my work didn't really change. I still had clients. I still had clients looking for recordings. Although I bet listenership is down as fewer people are commuting to their jobs. That's often a time that you would listen to audiobooks. But we were faced suddenly with. She didn't feel comfortable making the journey to my house and being, somebody who was coming into my house every day. And I wasn't as comfortable having her in there. So we had to figure out a way to make that work. And we used Skype as our primary communication vector. So now she listens in to Skype to follow along on her script in front of her, and I had to rearrange my recording space so that I got an extender for my keyboard for the computer so that I can run the computer from the booth while looking through the window of the booth. It took some ergonomic shuffling to get it all to work, but it worked surprisingly well. And so after maybe a couple days of adjustment, we were able to get back into the swing of things and maintain our schedule. And I've always been working from home, so having the children home studying hasn't really been an issue. And my wife has been working from home. So it's been an adjustment, but more stable than it could have been. And certainly I'm very fortunate to have maintained most of my workload during this time, which is certainly a blessing.
Yeah, it's actually good if everything has been sorted out with the kids also.
Yes,
So-
they have their own issues with distance learning has been its own set of hurdles, especially dealing with teachers who do not. That I don't know how they're doing it in Finland, but we have what they call a hybrid model, where some of the students are in physical class and others may have decided to stay home. And we kept our kids home because I was able to be home with them. So they have been distance learning while some of the other kids, many classmates, have been physically in the class. And their teachers have had to split their attention between 5 or 6 students studying distance on Zoom, basically, and an entire class worth of children or a partial class worth of children physically in the school. And that is nearly impossible to do, to pay attention to both groups equally. And so we've found that the kids on Zoom have suffered a little bit in the learning. Haven't been getting as much attention or covering as much material. And it's something we're going to have to adjust for in the coming year as we switch schools from where we were living to our new school district. And hopefully we'll have a better experience with the new district.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this hybrid model, but in the spring when the COVID entered Finland, so to say, all the schools were closed, so it was only distance learning. And all the kids were at home, and it was a bit chaotic for the parents because they had to stay home. You can't leave a kid home, and I think the teachers did very good job here. They were actually giving the lectures. They were not only giving packages that learn these and then we have an exam, but they were actually giving the classes, and I think they did a really good job. Better than they thought that they did.
It's a very difficult situation to be in, and I have nothing but sympathy for all of these teachers who have had to basically learn new ways of doing things in the last 8 months. But it's still difficult. No matter how hard they're trying, there are certainly gaps in the way this is all being put together.
Yeah, currently the schools are open, but the secondary school and high schools are suggested to be in distance learning. But the elementary schools and such, they are still open because they somehow found out that the kids are not spreading the corona that much. How is the corona situation there, by the way? How has it been for half a year?
It's not been fantastic. Connecticut, my state, has responded pretty well when in March, when things started to increase. We saw numbers starting to go up, and like I said, we're very close to New York City, which was a hot spot. So because there's a lot of the economy of Connecticut involves New York City, a lot of people live in Connecticut and work in New York. And so the governor and the government of Connecticut was very responsive to what New York was doing. And so even though we were not in crisis mode as far as where our numbers were, we responded very closely to what New York was doing. And so I think we stayed ahead of it more than other areas of the U.S. were able to. But we are now back looking at numbers that are as high as they were back in March and April, and that's and not locked down as much as we were back then. So I do wish we could get a better handle on it. There are all sorts of issues to all of that as far as personal responsibility, and for some reason it being a politicized issue in the U.S., whereas it's really a health issue and just trying to keep everybody safe. I would love if we could all just take care of it in a few weeks, but that obviously hasn't happened in the past 8 months.
Yeah, it's actually the same here. We have higher numbers than in the spring, but there are less restrictions.
Yes.
Now it's like a municipal restrictions. Earlier it was the whole country went to lockdown. Yeah. Especially the southern part of the country, but now it's just people are bored and such. But
it's hard. I get it. I mean, we've been in this situation for so long. Everyone just wants to go back to normal, but we can't. And it's hard to be told that you can't.
Yeah, that's true.
Our big issue right now is the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas on the horizon, and everyone keeps saying we should not be traveling and getting together the way that we normally do. And it still seems like people are planning to do it. And it's hard to get that across. And I know I'm looking forward to a Christmas that's probably just the four of us here in this house. In our new house, we set up the tree, and we'll probably have some Zoom calls with relatives. We may have a single person come over, and we'll all be masked. But like our standard, we usually host everyone for the Christmas holidays because we've got the kids and grandparents wanting to come over and see everybody. We were always the hub for getting to see everyone, and that's certainly not happening this year.
That's a big change, actually, if
Yes.
you've been doing that for years.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a very strange Christmas Day for sure.
Yeah, we're trying to still have a Christmas so that people come over. We've been hosting a few years also. And let's see. But the situation here where I live is now calming down. There was some kind of a spike 2 weeks ago. But let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
People don't seem to care, unfortunately. Except that when they said here that we are suggesting masks, now over 90% of people wear masks in shops. I'm really, how can I say, proud of the people, because we've never had this mask system in this country and nobody wore in the spring, but now they do. It's actually quite nice to see.
That's good.
They try to stay healthy and keep everyone else healthy.
Yeah. In my experience, at least here in Connecticut, people are following the rules and trying to get a handle on this as best as possible. And so it is good to see the masks being worn everywhere. And when we had to do our move, having to move with contractors and movers and a bunch of people and realtors and prospective buyers for our house entering our home, it was good to see everyone using hand sanitizer, everyone using masks, and I felt safer than I could have felt if everyone was not really following these rules. But it was good that everyone who entered our house and who moved stuff into the new house was wearing a mask. It helped make us feel a little bit better.
Yeah, it's so annoying to do any lifting with the mask. I just went today, 3 hours ago, to get the shelf packet from IKEA, and it was horrible with the mask.
Yes, it is.
So boring stuff to do. The world has been changing this year, besides the corona and everything, and it seems that many people have gone through some individual changes, and also some other types of changes have happened in the world on a global scale and in societies. And I'm wondering, what do you think about change?
Change is, it's scary, but it is also, I'm trying to think of it as an opportunity. When you do make a big change, and again, I'm going back to the new home model, it was a big pain to pack up all of our stuff and to get it into a portable version. But now that we're actually in our new home, it is sort of exciting to be able to redefine your space, redefine the way that you do things. Like in setting up my studio, that was my primary priority when we got everything off of the truck. Getting all of this back up and running so that I could work again was one of the chief priorities. But in my old house, I was crammed into a tiny little room for my studio. And now I'm basically in the basement and have much more room to play with in how I built the booth that I'm sitting in, how I ran the wires around the room, how I positioned things next to the booth. And so it's kind of exciting to be able to think, well, where would I want my business files to go? What would be the most convenient and the best place for these to be? And to be able to actually position them there instead of being crammed into a corner or a closet as they have been. So being able to redefine is sort of exciting if it's still a lot of work.
Did I hear correctly in Mandy's and Susan's podcast that you are now able to and allowed to build a gaming room?
That is very true, and also very exciting. You mentioned IKEA, though. With the pandemic and its associated transportation issues, I have not been able to get all of the shelves I want.
I heard that.
So at the moment, I have 4 frames of the IKEA Besta system in the room, but I have no shelves to put inside them. So I can't actually put games into those frames yet. They're more there as decoration and positioning for the time being. So I've had to wait. I have not been able to start the transformation of that space, but I'm very excited to be able to create a board game space again from scratch. It's almost a blank canvas. This room that was a formal living room, that's like a sitting room that we aren't using for that purpose. This is going to be my board game room. Of course, the challenge is that all of the games need to go into that room. I'm not allowed to spread them all over the house anymore, as I did in the old house. So that challenge and that excitement of the project of creating this space, finding places for all of the games, I think I can do it, but I'm going to need shelves to come back in stock at IKEA.
Do you have a table already? Or did you have already earlier?
I don't have a dedicated board game table. I have one of the game toppers, which is the portable toppers that can go on any flat surface, really. That will work fine for the time being. I would like to eventually make that the portable game top that I could put on something else. Like, the dream is to have a family game day again, where I can invite a bunch of people over and we can all be playing games and have a big party with multiple tables going. And eventually, I would like to get a dedicated gaming table from one of the game table manufacturers and put it in the center of the room. I don't have it yet, but I don't need it yet. So for now, I'll probably stick with the game topper and use that for a little while, learn more about what I need in the space, what will fit best, what I hope to use it for. And by the time I'm ready for a game table, maybe I can have people over again.
Yeah, if you begin doing videos, maybe some company will send you a table.
It is,
like they've done to some people.
Yeah, that would be nice too. Or a discount or something along those lines. I do hope to do more videos. That's something that I never really had room for in the old space. I would have to basically pack up everything and then bring it all back out again every time I wanted to do some sort of video project, which is why for the Dice Tower I haven't done that much. But now in my new studio space, I could set up a table semi-permanently and set up my lights semi-permanently so that when I do want to do a video, I can just turn it all on and go, as opposed to having to set up everything from scratch every time.
That sounds good, for the viewers at least. Yeah, about the toppers, I think that topper is fine. I don't have a gaming table either. I have self-made toppers, 2 of them, and they're a bit heavy because I made them from this plywood, and it could have been a bit thinner.
Okay.
But I think they work fine.
It means it's sturdy. It's not going to fall apart.
Yeah, but it's so heavy. To lift around, they're not really portable.
Yes.
Just on and off. What do you think on a global scale? What kind of changes there has been this year, or have been?
In the board gaming sphere, or just in general?
In general, or in board game sphere. You don't have to go into politics. I know you had, or still are having, elections there in US. I don't know how long that will go on.
Yes, hopefully we will be.
From outside, it's like some kind of a circus.
It is, absolutely. I'm hoping that we are out of that particular situation very soon. In the board gaming sphere, this has sort of forced us to find new ways to promote board games. We used to revolve everything around a convention schedule. And which has, at least for a full year now, we just canceled Dice Tower West, so it will have been a full year of canceled events already, and if not more. We're probably going to go even further into 2021. And stuff like Spiel in Essen, where you and I got to see each other in person. Seems like a lifetime ago that we got to do that.
That's true.
And Gen Con and the other PAX and major events where publishers would get to premiere titles. They'd get to show things off on demo tables, and and really just build their release schedule around these physical events. And for some people, that's how they would find new games. You know, if you are not as active on Board Game Geek or listening to podcasts or that sort of thing, there are lots of people who just went to Gen Con with their board game budget for the year and did all of their shopping there. And
it's the same in Spiel, I think.
Same in Spiel. Yeah, you know, you walk around with a wagon or a cart and just fill up with all of the new releases, and that is your board gaming for the year. That isn't happening. And trying to reach a new audience and reach hobbyist board gamers without the benefit of those physical meeting spaces has been a tremendous challenge. But I do think that even when we're able to get back together, I think we will have taken some of these lessons that we've learned about how to run virtual events, how to run virtual demos, and still use them to run some virtual components. We may still see a Gen Con offshoot where there are some virtual events going on, or a Spiel Digital where there are some events happening for people who can't physically be there. Because we now know how to do it, much like the business world is probably realizing it doesn't need to have as many meetings in person anymore. More people can work from home. More people can have meetings virtually. I'm hearing some businesses are totally shutting their physical locations. You know, this office we're just not going to have an office anymore. Everybody can work from home. Yeah. We know you can do it. If we really need a conference space, we'll rent a conference space for a week. But we don't need to have an office open all the time.
It costs a lot also to have a building or an
does.
Office, or even a small office is not cheap.
And we saw so much resistance in the past 10 years or so to people working at home. You know, businesses would often say, no, you can't work from home, or they'd have all sorts of restrictions for working from home. Yeah. But now that we've seen it can be done and still be productive and still have that work-life balance, I think we'll see a lot more working from home for businesses and for jobs who are able to do that. You don't really have the excuse of saying, no, you can't work from home, because we've already seen it can be done.
Yeah. Just the other side of the coin is that companies might say that you have to work from home, and maybe some people are not even safe at home working. So there's two sides of that.
That is very true.
I don't think the without office is not necessarily the way to go, but maybe this hybrid model that some work from home, some don't.
Yep.
Some might have to go to work to be able to do something. Maybe they have lots of kids at home that will distract them or something. I've noticed that I work better at office than I work at home, so it's a bit. I would want to go back to office.
Yes,
at least
spaces
sometimes,
or just having a familiar space, or being able to concentrate, or be working, collaborating with like-minded people and not necessarily a bunch of kids or lawnmowers operating outside your window, leaf blowers. That was a big issue this fall. So many people who weren't used to working from home suddenly were faced with all of the noises of a fall. Yeah. Working from home and not being able to have a meeting because there was a leaf blower next door.
Yeah, you don't have isolation in the buildings there like we do here, so we don't really hear the leaf blowers. I think my problem is that my work computer is there in the same room as the board game, so I become distracted so much.
Yes,
it's not really good. But there's no other space to put the computer, really, so that's a bit problematic. Have you attended these online conventions?
To be honest, not as many as I thought I would. There were a few very early on. The Dice Tower and Board Game Geek ran a virtual gaming con very early in the summer, and I had a blast doing it. I ran some events, ran some games on virtual platforms. We did some live video content, and I enjoy doing that sort of thing. But if I'm not scheduled for events, I have found that I am much more leaning towards spending time with the family.
Yeah, exactly same with me. I thought that I would attend all of these conventions, but it's weekend. I sit in front of the computer all week already. I don't want to do that in the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so different to go in person because then you go somewhere else and you actually see the people and actually touch the games. But now, if I want to see a virtual game, I can see it during a weekday evening if I want to.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend my weekend for that.
There's something specific about going somewhere to a convention, separating yourself from your normal life and spending some time in this zone. We sort of talk about the bubble that you're in when you're in a convention, where it's its own time frame, and your whole world is sort of revolving around the events at the convention and when the gates open and when the hall shuts down for the day and then where you're going to eat when you're done. And it's just all self-contained. And while you may get a phone call or an email from work while you're doing this sort of thing, it's rare that you're getting these intrusions from the outside world. You're sort of in that bubble. But with the virtual conventions, there is no bubble. In fact, the convention itself is the intrusion. And
yes, exactly.
It's
That's well
harder,
said, in my opinion.
It is a lot harder to make that work. I've had that same situation with trying to get my game group, my usual game group, which hasn't met since March. Did try to do some virtual gaming when we first got started, and I would often find that game time would come along, but I would be in the middle of something with the family. I would be, it would be almost dinner time. It would be, there wasn't that sense of leaving the house to do this thing where I would be in the bubble and normally order takeout or, hanging out with the friends. Now I had all of the family stuff to do and didn't necessarily have that time cut out for playing a game.
Yeah, it's also a bit unfair if you tell the rest of the family that I'm here in the room, don't come here.
Yes.
That doesn't work.
Sharing of space, too. It makes it difficult, Leave me alone. This room is mine, be quiet. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same, actually, with me. We tried to play one tabletop simulator when the board game club got closed, but then we noticed that it's not going to work that well live, and we've been playing actually in Board Game Arena quite a lot with the game group, just 5 of us, not everyone. But now, 3 weeks ago, the Board Game Club got closed again because university said that you're not allowed to gather anymore for the rest of the year because of Corona, and it became worse. We were able to gather for 2 months, and that was actually quite good. But 10-person limit and masks.
Okay.
But still, live people.
Yeah. We have not had that opportunity. Some folks have been able to do a very small, like in-house masked gathering with just like another couple or something like that, or playing outside. That might have been good, but as the weather has gotten cold, that's not as much of an option. So I have not had live gaming. My live game group has been my kids, and they only have so much tolerance for the games I like to play. I am often having to foist review games upon them, and I think they just get a little sick of learning new rules at some point, and very resistant. I'll show them a stack of, here's 3 or 4 games that I need to play, and they'll pick the one that has the shortest playtime so that they're done faster.
Yeah.
And
actually, what I play with my daughter, it's the same, except now, last Friday, I bought some used kids games, and I said to her that we need to try these 3, so I know which I will give away. And then she came in the evening, she said, now where are the games? And she's 4.5. So we played one game, she said, where's the next one?
Okay.
Next one. Oh, did they end already? I mean, 3 games in 1 hour we played.
Nice.
That was the first time when she wanted to play something new after the previous game, that she didn't want to play the same game again. That was the first time. That just came to my mind when you said that your kids don't want to learn new rules.
Yeah, it doesn't help that there's so many other distractions with the electronic entertainment. I am definitely seeing that they would rather be watching YouTube or they'd rather be playing something on the Switch. And so I have to actually carve out family game time where the screens go off and we are playing something on the tabletop. And they're still resistant when those moments come up.
You should play better games, not just review games. Maybe. Or maybe you have good review games.
Maybe.
You haven't had any possibility to play for half a year. So you have had these regulations all the time.
I mean, they fluctuated as far as what the official rules are. But what the rules say and what I'm comfortable doing have not always been the same. As soon as we started to lock down, and we had, at first it became, 100 people maximum, and then it became 50 people maximum, and then it became 20. Yeah. And as soon as any sort of restrictions were happening, my game group, which meets at someone's house, said, sorry, folks, we're out. We would be coming to their house. So obviously, it's up to them if they want to continue having people over to their home.
Yeah, of course.
And so they weren't comfortable, as this was ramping up, having people in their house. So it was definitely their decision to lock it down. But even, I feel like even if there was some sort of technical reason why we could do it, say, okay, you can have gatherings of 100 people or gatherings of 50 people. And so then there was a board game night that, where we'll take the first 25 people. I'm still not necessarily confident that I would want to be in that situation yet. Until I think it's got to be the vaccine is the finish line for me. When enough people have that is when I will start to feel comfortable having social interactions again. And while I've always sort of felt that that's the case, it's hard to realize that it will be that long before I'm really comfortable doing it.
Yeah, we had almost 2 months, 0 cases in the summer. Oof. That's why we were able to gather again. But now in the autumn it got crazy again, crazier than in the spring.
Wait, just to hear that there's a possibility of a 0, that is not anything the U.S. was dealing with.
Then only in the area where I live in. We have 164,000 people in this region. But we were still under 100 in the whole country.
Wow.
We were doing really well in the summer. We should have just kept doing that and not travel. People wanted to travel in the summer, and I have no idea why. Now we are facing a Santa-less Christmas. How do you say? Christmas without Santa.
Without Santa, yeah. I mean, it is, a lot of it is, if it's not in front of you, it's sometimes hard to realize how bad it is. And we've certainly had that in the U.S. We are such a large country and a porous as far as borders and borders between states are so nebulous as far as travel that one area might be doing really great. We've had certain states do very well and be in the green zone and it looks like, hey, we beat this thing. But as soon as restrictions start to lift again, it gets bad, and it's hard to remain vigilant for as long as we have, and still be so careful.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think you have changed in the process during the last year, in the moving and in this learning how to work in a new way and learning to be without playing games and everything? Do you think you've changed?
I'm sure I have. Being able to define it is tricky. I think my perspective on going with the flow has altered a little bit. I tend to, at least before this happened, I would get very antsy, very nervous when things would go not according to plan. When suddenly a monkey wrench was thrown into whatever I had planned, that would be very much not my comfort zone, and I would get noticeably agitated. Would often get short with people when this sort of thing would happen, and sort of panic a little bit. And I think this situation has made me accept that I just have to go with the flow, that I can't really plan that far ahead, even though I like to. That's one of the reasons why I like doing audiobooks, is because I can plan so far ahead. Other forms of voiceover require a much quicker turnaround. I say it's like a 0 to 60 thing, where you are not doing anything and then suddenly you are doing something, and you have an audition or a job that has to be turned around in 24 hours, and that's not the way audiobooks work. I have things on the calendar into February, and I know that I will be recording this book, and it's going to take me this long, and here's when it needs to be returned, and I can plan significantly. So that's the way I like to work. I know that I can't necessarily plan on that. And I know that a plan that we have on the horizon might change in a week. The world may look different in a week, in a day. And so I have been forced to be more flexible, I think. And I think that's got to be a good thing, to be more easygoing when it comes to, I'm going to do my best, I will plan as best I can, but I am not going to rigidly stick to that schedule because it might be impossible by the time that comes around.
You're probably not the only one who's had to think about that.
Sure.
If you compare yourself in the beginning of the year, who are you now? And you haven't made this kind of in a way, huge decision. You've just recently moved. But considering that what it involved and everything, would you do that same move again?
I don't want to ever have to do it again. But part of that is because I have now done it. We talked about all of the benefits of moving. We are in a larger space now. We are able to, as our family has grown, when we moved into our old house, it was just the two of us. We didn't have a pet. We didn't have any kids. And as the family has grown, our use of the space became very constrained. And we were always sort of resistant to taking such a big step. Like I said, change is hard. And sometimes the resistance, the inertia to keeping things comfortable keeps you where you are, and maybe longer than we should have. Maybe we should have moved a couple years ago. In January, though, I was in that spot. I never really considered moving. It was only when we started seeing other houses in our area start to sell and said, wow, maybe this is our moment. And if we don't take this opportunity now, it might not be here in another year. And it was maybe June when this started to happen. And we said, maybe we could move. We could make this happen. And it required a lot of effort to get past that inertia. And I don't think that I was in the mindset to do that in January, February. I think that more flexible attitude and approach that, we can plan for what we can plan for, but we have to go with the flow, allowed us to break free and make a big life-changing move, such as leaving town.
That's a good answer, actually. Have you asked your children, what do they feel that they have to change the school and leave the friends behind? Are they fine with it?
They are resistant. I have two kids, 9 and 12. The 12-year-old has had small moments of being regretful, but I think he's realized that he hasn't, the fact that they've been distance learning, they haven't seen their friends in months, actually helps in this situation. They're able to adjust to basically logging into a different Zoom meeting, or the fact that they know they can keep track and stay in touch with their friends if they really want to stay in touch with them, they have the tools to do it because they've been using them for the past 8 months to keep track of their classes. In fact, one of my youngest has been having virtual play dates with one of his friends who moved away. And when he had moved away and we weren't in this virtual learning situation, that was sort of this final thing. I miss my friend. I wish we could get together with my friend, and I don't see him anymore. But now that he's sort of had this mental shift that says, wait, I can get together with any of my friends, no matter where they are, no matter where I am, and has now been able to get together and play Minecraft with his friend who had moved away a year ago. So they both have their moments of being very resistant. My 9-year-old really didn't want this to happen, and I think he had a sense that if he just refused to help pack, that we would not be able to move and end up staying in the same house. And at some point, the momentum of the move, we had sold our house and needed to leave. That was no longer going to work. We were leaving whether he helped or not. And he wasn't quite embracing that approach. He's had a tougher time with this move. The kids have never left their house. They've always lived in one place. So the younger has had a lot of trouble. The older is learning to embrace it. But they're both moving slowly toward the sense that this is home.
Yeah, that's good. It will go past.
Yes.
I mean, it will pass in time. How about the future? What do you expect the future will bring to you, and what do you expect you yourself will become in the future?
I hope that this attitude that I've sort of embraced, the flexibility, will continue even after I'm able to plan better. When the world situation allows me to plan for something and be reasonably certain that it's going to happen, as far as like a convention or travel plans or a vacation, that I will still be able to roll with the punches when something gets in the way. I hope, it'll be very, we talk about wanting to get back to the normal, but maybe we need a new normal. I think it's never going to be quite the way it was in January of 2020. It's going to be maybe more flexible, hopefully more caring, more responsive to what other people need. I'm hoping that we can move forward and be better than we were, and not necessarily just back to the same thing. Because the same thing, that's never the best thing. You do need some motion, some growth, even if it's comfortable. You need to move forward.
Yeah, that's true. And you shouldn't go back if you've already forgotten the past in a way.
Yeah.
I don't think many people remember how it was in January or beginning of February 2020 anymore. It feels like that. It's really ridiculous to me that you could travel somewhere safely.
I miss it though. Like I really do miss the traveling and getting to see people in person. And I loved getting to go to a place that I had been before and have all those familiar smells and senses come. Like when I would arrive in Essen and at the Dusseldorf airport and get to, see those same pillars again and the baggage carousels and the trains and all of those elements that would come flooding back, or the hotels near Gen Con or Origins or Dice Tower Con. It was exciting to have the places and the people that I'd get to see, and I miss those things tremendously. And so I hope I'm able to embrace those things again, with maybe some better mental perspective about the malleability of all of it.
Let's see what happens. Hopefully something positive will happen in the future.
I hope so.
Do you have anything else to add to this discussion about change and your changes, and anything else before we move into our top 9 lists?
No, I think we've covered a lot for sure.
All right. So this time we have top 9 lightweight games chosen by Eric. And why did you choose this kind of a list?
Well,
it wasn't very easy.
We should note that lightweight is in physical weight. We're talking mass. We're talking easy to move. Well, like we said, I've been moving everything. And
that's the reason. Okay,
yes,
now I got it.
Anything that is easy to move, that can be thrown in a pocket or a bag and doesn't require heavy lifting. It's helpful to have games that you can throw in a bag and when you have a few moments can play and not have to, did I bring that big box? Did I bring Power Grid? Is it in the car trunk or any of that? You don't need a carrier for these games. They can be thrown in a purse or a bag or a pocket even. Easy to transport, lightweight games.
How did you qualify the games to your list? Did you just choose everything, or did you choose something that you remember that was easier to carry than the Power Grid while you were moving, or how did you disqualify and qualify the games, and how did you make your list?
It was just sort of remembering back to easy to transport. I was thinking of the smaller size games, and then there are some categories of games, which we'll get to when we talk about the list. There are some manufacturers that specifically make small games. And rather than just populate the list with every release from such and such line, I tried to pick only one of each of those series. So there are, like the button shy games that come in small little wallets. All of those would fit this list, but I only picked one.
I actually weighed all my games with the post scale.
My postal scale is still in a box somewhere.
Okay, I weighed them. I went around the house and checked at what games I have. I didn't find one game on the list. It's in some container, so I couldn't weigh that one. And some others I didn't weigh because I thought I'm not adding them to the list.
Okay.
But my games, the heaviest game in the short list even is 177 grams.
Okay.
So they are not heavy.
Yeah, no.
And I actually ranked them according to the weight. So the lightest weight, physically lightest weighting game is number 1, and the heaviest, actually the one that I couldn't find, is number 9.
I didn't, because I didn't have an actual weight for each of them. I went with the games I like the most in the ranking.
Yeah, I'm trying to make this a bit strange, because this is now the 9th episode. I'm making a list. I'm also disqualifying the games that I've used in earlier lists.
Oh, excellent.
So I threw out Hanabi and Paddle Imp, and I have this pocket version of Hanabi. It has traveled with me in many countries. It's in this small metal tin, and even with the tin it weighs 140 grams.
Wow.
So it's very lightweight.
Okay.
They have similar version of Tichu. I don't remember if you like the game or not.
I do like Tichu. I didn't know there was a pocket version.
They have in German.
Okay.
They have this Hanabi and Tichu. It's really small. Just a packet of cards, and it's in tin. You can destroy walls with that. It's very hard metal.
Huh. Interesting.
It works well. And this Hanabi is really good for that purpose. And Paddle Imp, I have the 68 gram version, this Seaman edition. It's only cards. There's no paddle in it. And it's a very small box, but it was in a previous list, so
okay,
it's out. Do you have any honorable mentions?
No. I kept everything to the... I'd say I'm going to keep everything to the list.
Okay, I'll have to mention one more. Did you know that Deckscape cards weigh 177 grams?
Okay, that's a
They
good
are
reference.
Heavy cards.
Wow.
I had it on the list. I thought that it will go to the list, but I didn't know it's that heavy.
Interesting.
And yeah, that's about it for the honorable mentions. I thought of adding the Crew, but I've been playing it so much in Board Game Arena that I don't know if I'll play it in the card form again. Maybe not.
Plus the Crew is 2 full decks of cards. because you've got the play cards and then you've got the mission cards.
Yeah.
And so it's probably heavier than a lot of the others.
That's true. I also tried to make it so that all of them are not card games on the list. I have only 2 games that are just cards.
I tried to
3.
differentiate. I've got mostly cards, but I've got some differentiation.
All right. In the past, now this is actually a bit interesting, because in the past we've had, since the first episode, we had Richard Simpson as a guest, and he wanted to announce like Erik Sammerer. So all the guests so far have been trying to announce the numbers like Erik Sammerer. So
I'm usually good at that.
Yeah, maybe you want to give it a try as well if you're going to be able to announce like Erik Sammerer.
Sure. Usually the Dice Tower has an announcer that is not me doing the standard top 10 list. Some people think that's me, but it's not. But yeah. I will often do it at a live show. I'll do the announcing. But I'm happy to try and sound like Erik Sammerer here. We'll see.
Yeah. Stephen Bonacker actually said that it's Mike Selinker, if I remember right, who's doing the top 10, or someone else. He had some knowledge.
Mike Fitzgerald did.
Mike Fitzgerald, yes.
Yeah, he did some he was an announcer on the Dice Tower before me. But I don't think it was him that did the top 10 either. It was somebody that Tom hired way back when, and he doesn't even remember what the guy's name was.
Ah, okay. So Stephen was also wrong. Tom knows. I'll ask him if I see him that who is that guy.
There you go.
But Tom doesn't know the name, so
yep.
It's really not useful. But you do the live show, so let's see how you do now. So we go from 9, one by one. You begin, I follow, and
okay. Let's
see what happens.
Number 9.
Well done.
My number 9 is called Vicious Fishes. This is from a company called Nestor Games, and almost all of their games come in canvas pouches. Vicious Fishes comes in 2 of the canvas pouches, so this is maybe the most awkward of my list as far as transportation. But the components, it has tile racks that are made of foam. So they're very light. It's a tile laying game from designer Tom Vasel.
Isn't it Vassal?
Yeah, Vassal.
I see. It's Vassal written so often like that.
It's a tile laying game and sort of an area control game with these cool little fish and octopi and sea creatures that sort of attack each other, and you earn points for surrounding each other with your tiles. It is, however, very light as far as weight goes, and it's my number 9, Vicious Fishes.
I haven't even seen this, but the art looks really cool.
It's cute.
And I want to try this, actually. Just 2 weeks ago, I tried Nothing Personal, and that was actually surprisingly good. I liked it more than I thought.
It's a lovely game. It's for that style of game. It's negotiation. Yeah. It's very sort of in your face, but it's a nice design. They did a nice job.
Yeah, and it flows very well. Yeah. So I have high expectations for this Vicious Fishes.
There you go.
My number 9 is the game that I couldn't find, and that is For Sale. This, if possible, is even lighter than your fish game. And this is on the list because I've actually carried this with me quite a lot. I mean, it was coming with me everywhere where I was going to play something with more than 2 players. Because this works really well with 3, 4, 5, and 6. And it's basically just 2 decks of cards and some chits that can be used as coins. You can use stones if you want, as long as you can hide them to your pockets or somewhere.
Yep.
So basically you only need 60 cards, I think. It's 1 to 30, 2 times.
Yeah.
And the artwork is really nice, and there was new edition recently. Published, I think. But this is a great game, and in my opinion, people should remember this. It seems that it's getting forgotten, but it should be remembered better. This is a great game.
It is an excellent game, and you're right. Just basically 1 full deck of cards divided by 2, and then some cardboard tokens. You're all set.
Yep.
Number 8. My number 8 is a game called Bus. There are lots of games called Bus. The Splotter game called Bus would not fit on this list. It's plenty heavy. This is from a company that is called Paco Games. These are all games that fit in small little cardboard boxes about the size of a pack of gum. And Bus is a pick up and deliver game for 2 players. You have these long, skinny cards, the size of a pack of gum or a stick of gum, and you create sort of a map, a grid map, and then you've got bus cards that move around, and you're going from end of the map to the other end of the map, and completing objectives. And it's kind of cool to have a pick up and deliver game that fits in such a tiny little case. The Paco Games game, Bus, all capital letters, my number 8.
And works with 2 players.
Yes.
I haven't even seen these Paco games, but if it's a well-working game for 2 players, pick up and deliver, I'm interested in it.
Oh, excellent.
And the other Bus is great also.
Oh, yes, it is.
My number 8 is the heaviest game on this list, not maybe weight-wise, but physical weight-wise, and this is Flip Over Frog.
Ah, yes.
This is a surprisingly heavy game. I mean, it says in Board Game Geek that the weight is 1.33, but especially 2 players, this can become quite thinky at some points, especially before, at the point when you're putting the frogs on the flip side of the frogs. When the, in a way, second phase of the game will start, when there will be no empty squares on the board. And this has really great artwork, and the component quality is good. That's why it weighs 153 grams. It has a board and 40 tiles. I'm not counting the boxes to the weights because they are not needed. You can put the game in a bag.
Sure.
And take it with you. And if you have the possibility to try this. It's a surprising hit. In a way, hit, but I like it a lot from Hub Games. And originally from Japan by a guy named Okabenius. I have no idea what kind of guy he or she or they are.
I like this one as well. Good choice. My youngest, the 9-year-old, is a shark at this game. He had me going the entire game thinking he was one color, and then pulled a move at the end and won the game because he had me convinced that he was representing the other color.
Yeah.
Number 7. Number 7 is the newest. Yeah, this is the newest game on my list. This is brand new. It's an 18-card escape game from Grand Gamers Guild called the Kringle Caper. It's a tiny little cardboard pack, just 18 cards, and you're solving puzzles. It uses an app. I don't know if you're going to be carrying your phone with you anyway, so I don't think that counts as far as the weight goes. So very easy to transport and great for a small family gathering where you're dealing with kids, solving puzzles relating to Rudolph and the other 8 reindeer, or Christmas carols, or the layout of Santa's workshop. It's a neat little escape game called the Kringle Caper, number 7.
This looks really cool. Not many ratings yet on Board Game Geek.
It's brand new.
10 ratings. Yeah. This looks interesting and sounds interesting. My number 7 is Würfel Bonanza. So basically the dice version of Bonanza.
Yes.
This weighs 111 grams and it has 66 cards and 7 dice. There is this one thing, I will never play this with more than 3 players. I once played with 5 and I will never ever play it again with 5.
Interesting.
Because in one round one person can just by luck fulfill even 2 cards, and that's a huge huge advantage in that game.
Yeah.
But with 2 and 3 this works really well, especially with 2. I like it a lot as a 2-player game. And basically it's Bonanza but with dice. And the best thing is that you can do things on the other player's turn if the other player gives you the possibility, and even if not.
Yes,
the first roll,
they have no choice.
In the first roll you can, especially in the first roll, but after the other one has taken some dice off, then it's not that easy anymore. But yeah, don't expect this to be strategic. It's just random and lucky, but it's fun and quick, and I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Würfel Bonanza.
Yeah, excellent game. It's a shame that this is a German only. You can't get this in the U.S. For whatever reason, it was never picked up by the U.S. publishers, and it's a shame.
Yeah, but you can order it from Amazon.de.
You can.
And it's cheap.
Number 6. My number 6 is Love Letter. There are a million different editions of Love Letter. The one I'm thinking of was from AEG, but there's other publishers now producing Love Letter. And the edition I'm thinking of, the original, is just a simple pouch with, I think it's another 18-card game. So a pouch with 18 cards and some markers for scorekeeping. And very, very portable, easy to throw in a pocket. It's sort of a hidden roll game, not really, but there's an element where you can guess what numbers other people have. You're trying to end up with the highest number by the end of the round, playing cards one at a time with special powers and revealing what other people have, and trying to either be the last person standing with cards in hand or to have the highest number when it's all over. Do that several times until you've won like 3 or 4 times, and you've got it. Love Letter, number 6.
The basic version.
Yes.
All right. My number 6 is one of the few games with only cards, and this is Skull King. This is one of the best trick-taking games there are, and I originally played this with a deck of cards. It's this originally called Oh Hell, I think, or some other something else.
Yes.
Also, but if I remember right, it goes the other way, so it goes from 10 to 1 cards in hand, and this one goes from 1 to 10, and this is so good game. In many different groups, it works with almost everyone after they understand how the trick-taking works, so you can just play one sample hand that this is how a trick-taking game works, and then just begin playing. It's easy to begin from 1 card, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and at the time when there are 6 cards and 3 people bid 4, that becomes craziness. And it's really, really good game.
Very cool. Number 5. My number 5 is called Mint Delivery. This is from a series by, they're now called Poketo. They started as called 524 Labs. And this entire series comes in metal tins, which look very much like Altoids tins. I don't know, do they have Altoids in Finland?
Not with that same name, I think. Oh, not at the moment, at least. Maybe earlier they had.
Okay, it might be a US-based company. There is a line of mints, little chalky white mints called Altoids. And these games all fit in metal tins just like that. And in fact, they all use wooden, white wooden discs that look like those Altoids mints as part of the game mechanisms. And my favorite of this series is Mint Delivery, which is, again, a pick up and deliver game. Some of these cards are going to be a map, and you're moving around that map and picking up different mints and delivering them to other areas of the board. It's cute. It's very, very portable and small. Mint Delivery, number 5.
Was this the first one, or which one was the first one?
The first is called Mint Works. It's a worker placement game using those mints.
Yeah, because I backed the first one in Kickstarter, but I still haven't played it. I'm not sure where I put it because it's so small.
It is small. That is the one difficulty with almost all of these, is that they are small enough that if you throw them in a bag, you may never see them again until you find that bag again. I've had pockets of like a jacket or of a suitcase or a bag that I threw one of these in thinking, well, maybe if I have time, I'll play one of these games. And I've totally forgotten that the game is in there.
Yeah, mine is in some drawer, but I have no idea in which drawer. It's somewhere. But I have it, but I still haven't played it.
Yep.
My number 5 is quite new game also. It's called Super Express. And this is, I don't like Colt Express. I'm saying that already. I don't like the game. It's too, let's say I'd rather play Robo Rally than Colt Express.
Okay.
And this Super Express was very, very surprising to me. I thought that this won't be good, but it worked so quickly, and we laughed a lot when we played. So that is already a good thing about the game. And it only weighs 74 grams. If you add the expansion, it gives 26 grams more, so it's exactly 100 grams.
Oh.
And it has 52 cards and 7 meeples, and yeah, 100 grams game, and it's quite good. It goes up to 7 people. That's the main reason I included it in the list, because you can play it with a lot of people and quickly and easily.
That's helpful, yeah.
Have you played this yet?
I have not, no.
Is it in US already, or only in Europe?
I have not. This is the first I've heard of it, so it may be out here, but I'm not aware of it.
Okay, I have the Finnish version. Asmodee sent me a copy, and it was really surprisingly good. I don't know if it's out in US yet, but it's surprisingly good.
Cool.
Considering its size and looks and everything.
Huh.
And I don't like Colt Express. I'm repeating that.
But it is like it's a version of Colt Express, or it's the same universe?
It has the same characters and the same train, but everything works with cards.
Huh.
And you have some action cards, you choose one. I mean, you program the cards and then you flip them over. Basically the same as Colt Express, but without any convoluted trains or cacti on the board or something like that nonsense. Just portable and easy.
Very cool.
Colt Express, and a lot better because it's so quick.
Number 4. My number 4 does not play 7 players. In fact, it's primarily a solo game, or there is a 2-player cooperative version. It's called Palm Island. A single deck of this fits in a small little plastic wallet, so it's maybe 20 cards, maybe a few more than that. Not a tremendous number of these. Palm Island has these multi-sided cards. You're sort of twisting them in your hand and keeping the deck that you're cycling through in your hand. The whole thing is designed where you take one card and do something with it and put it to the back, and you're rotating them and twisting them and taking some of them as resources and using those resources to build other buildings, and then that gets flipped around or turned upside down, and you're basically upgrading the cards in your deck that is in your hand, and doing it after a certain number of runs through the deck. You've upgraded enough buildings and scored enough points to win the game. It's an ingenious little system, and I enjoy it a lot. Palm Island, number 4.
I haven't seen this either, but I've seen pictures of it. It looks interesting.
Yes.
My number 4 is a game for Eric, and this is called Push It.
Push It.
Have you played this?
I have not.
This is a game that was kickstarted in 2015. It comes in a stock cardboard box, and it has some kind of 80s vibes. Texts. I should actually show this to you from camera. But it has 8 wooden pucks and one different kind of wooden puck that is a jack.
Okay.
And you put it in the middle of the table, and the others are pushing or flicking the discs and trying to hit it. Basically, it's a portable crokinole in a way, or actually portable curling, but from 4 directions.
Or bocce.
And I haven't played that.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
sort of a lawn bowling game. You have a target ball and you're throwing balls at it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you slide these pucks.
Yep.
So it reminds me of curling, and you might actually like this because you like the table curling.
I do very much.
And this comes with a cloth back, and it only weighs 65 grams. And this is a different kind of game.
Very nice.
To this list. Plays 2 to 4.
Cool.
Push It.
Number 3. I mentioned the Button Shy games at the top of this, and this is my selection from Button Shy. It's called Sprawlopolis. Sprawlopolis can be played as a solo game, but it can also be played as an up to 4-player cooperative challenge. It's only 18 cards. It comes in one of those plastic wallets. And you're building a cityscape with roads and different building and terrain types, and trying to conform to 3 scoring conditions that exist. And each time you play, so each of the cards has a scoring condition on the back side of it. And so you're going to deal out 3 of these scoring conditions at the beginning, and then the rest of the cards are what you're going to be building the map with. And you must cooperatively or solo try and score a target number of points using those scoring conditions by adjacency rules and how many roads you have and how they connect to each other. And it is an interesting puzzle every time you play with different scoring conditions. It's a great cooperative challenge. Sprawlopolis, number 3.
Have you played this with how many players?
Have
you played it with 4?
I have played it. It was either 3 or 4.
Are you crazy?
I mean,
this is a solo game. Come on.
You don't have as many decisions, when you've basically dealt out the cards to people's hands when you're playing a multiplayer version. But yeah, I think it works. It's discussion of what do I do with this card? How am I going to make it happen? I still like it as a multiplayer game.
I think it might be quicker to screw up with more players. Yeah, maybe it doesn't take that long as a solo.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. It can take long as a solo game, at least for me, because I try to win it every time I play. My number 3 is half mentioned by you already, and mine is Batman Love Letter, because that's the version I have. I also have the Infinity Gauntlet, what is it called, but I don't think the one versus many works as well as this Batman one works. Mm-hmm. I like the Batman one the most.
Batman is good.
Yeah, I like that there is this hitting mechanism, which is a bit different from the original guessing mechanism.
Yep.
There are different skills. The Marvel one, the new one, is also good, but I think this is better, that it's all versus all. And this weighs 56 grams, and it has 16 cards, 4 reference cards, and 25 tokens in it. And the tokens are really cool in this Batman version. They have this Batman symbol in them.
Yep.
And I like the tokens a lot. Although the Love Letter heart tokens are also cool.
Yes.
But my number 3, Batman Love Letter.
All right. Number 2. Number 2 is a full deck of cards. It is Oh My Goods, which is an engine-building economic game that uses these cards for multiple uses. They are resources, they are buildings, they are money, they are just sort of tokens that represent the goods that you produce when you use them. And it's this whole economic system that is just represented with this deck of cards. It's a single deck. There are expansions that add like story elements and all of that. Then it becomes a little more unwieldy. I think as a single deck of cards, it is infinitely portable. But when you start adding more boxes with all the solo challenges and the story mode, it gets a little less so. So just basic game, Oh My Goods, a lovely economic game, all in one deck of cards, and my number 2.
It has over 100 cards. I didn't consider this, but it's a great choice and great game. I've also carried it with me, and we played it
Excellent.
On our trips. I forgot it. My number 2 is a game that weighs only 38 grams. It has 5 dice, and to that 38 grams I counted 20 sheets. So basically you can accommodate 2 times 4 player games, or 2 4-player games. Wait, I'm counting wrong. With anyway 20 sheets, and they are 2-sided, and there are 4 different sheets. There are A, B, C and D sheets, and if you add 5 pencils that come in the game, it adds 12 grams to the weight, so it's still 50 grams and second lightest on the list.
Sure.
And that is Castles of Burgundy, the dice game.
Yes.
It has wooden dice, that's why it's so lightweight, and I always pack this with me. The last time I played it was in UK Games Expo, after that in Heathrow Airport, and I think I had it with me in Spiel also, and maybe I played in the room, but I always carry this with me if I have possibility that I have to sit somewhere and wait.
Mm-hmm.
And this is maybe not a very good game, but it's still a good game, and I play this solo and try to make better score than earlier, but I find that I sometimes forget to mark how many times I've rolled the dice, because you have to keep track on the time.
Oh, yes.
I sometimes seem to forget it because I don't think I've got that good points as I have in one of my sheets. I noticed that when I was weighing this, I noticed that it has crazy points. I don't remember how much it was now, but it was more than in the others. I think I've made a mistake. But one day I will learn to count 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus, and so on. This is a very portable game.
It is. It is a great game. I like it a lot. I actually didn't put a roll and write game on my list, although I considered it. You asked if I had any honorable mentions. I did put Roll Estate on my list, which is the sort of Monopoly-themed Yahtzee mashup. And that was a possibility, but there's so many. It was hard to pick one roll and write game where you could just throw in 5 of those wooden dice and some sheets, and that's all you need to play the roll and write game. So lots of roll and write games could have fit on this list.
Yeah, I have Nockmal in my honorable mentions, but I couldn't weigh it. That's even lighter than this one, I think, because it has less dice, but this has very lightweight dice.
Yes.
That's the best thing in this, and it goes to very small space.
The wooden dice certainly help.
Yeah, definitely. And they are better and nicer than this plastic, in my opinion, anyway, because they don't make this clunky sound if you roll it on an airport table or something.
Yeah, okay.
They are smoother, softer sound. I like it more.
And finally, number 1. So my real number 1 would be Tiny Epic Galaxies from Gamelin Games. The official version of this is not, I mean, it is portable. It's in a box that's maybe like 4 times the size of a deck of cards. But Gamelin produces an ultra tiny Epic Galaxies version, which is just a tiny little tuck box. All of the dice.
Feels like cheating.
It's not. It is definitely a very it's totally designed to be the super portable version of Tiny Epic Galaxies. It's got everything that the full-size version has, at least the base game. But the dice are actually wooden cubes that you're rolling to get the results. And the whole thing is infinitely portable and easy to pull out in whatever situation you might be in. So Ultra Tiny Epic Galaxies is my number 1.
Yeah, Tiny Epic Galaxies is probably the best of those games that I've played.
Oh, yeah.
And if Ultra Tiny Epic Galaxies is the same, then this is a good pick.
Woo-hoo.
But it's a bit cheating. Ultra Tiny
Not
Epic.
cheating. It exists.
Yeah, it exists. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but anyway, it exists. My number 1 is already mentioned by Eric, and it's Brawlopolis. It weighs 32 grams. I have the Quinade Games boxed edition, so the box weighs 50 grams. On top of that, of course, with more sheets, I weighed this with 18 cards and 10 sheets. Does the button side version come with this scoring sheets or not?
There are no scoring sheets in the button shy version, no.
Okay. Yeah, this one has some 50 or something like that, but this has this scoring sheets added. And as I already commented to you, this is very thinky sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
As a solo game, it feels like it is solvable, but you just can't pick the right choice, and it's very annoying. I think I've played it for 40 minutes once, and it was very, very annoying. I'm 50-50 with the game. I've won half the games and lost half the games.
Okay.
It can be really difficult.
Yes.
Sometimes. And sometimes it can be really easy, like a walk in the park.
It all depends on what you draw and what the scoring conditions are, yeah.
Yeah, and some scoring cards give you huge amount of points, but then you are required to have a lot of points.
Yes.
It's very, very well planned, in my opinion. It's a good design.
Yes.
Especially considering it has only 18 cards. It is really, really, really well done.
It is really cool. And those Quinade Games versions, they just released another wave of them, if I'm not mistaken. and ones that if we had had an in-person spiel this year, I might have come home with a couple, just because the prettier versions of some of these games might have been really neat.
Yeah, last year in Spiel I bought Sprolopolis, Circle the Wagons, and Stew, which they had. I didn't like Stew, but Circle the Wagons could have been on this list, as well as Sprolopolis. But I thought that 2-player game is less useful than a solo game.
Yeah.
For this list. That's also a great game. Circle the Wagons, that is. I don't remember, do they have more than one? I saw one new one, but do they have 3 more in Gwynedd?
I know
think they had Tussie
Mussy is one. I don't remember how much. It was more than, I think the complete set looked like it was at least 4. So there's at least a 4th one.
Okay, there was 3 last year.
Okay. So
that's why I thought that there's only one more. But maybe they are coming with more and more and more and more. These are really cool boxes because they are these folding opening boxes. And they have numbers on the side, so I think they are making a set.
Yes.
Sprolopolis is number 1.
Okay.
So, what do you think? We will have a battle after this episode when I post the episode and when I post the lists. Which one of us do you think will win the battle?
Well,
I've not won even one yet because everyone are voting against me, especially in Twitter. I think my combined votes is probably 3 or something.
Well, I think that my victory is going to hinge totally on whether the audience agrees that Ultra Tiny Epic Galaxies is valid. If they decide that is breaking the rules, as you have asserted, then I'm doomed. So I totally think it's valid. So I think I have the victory as long as it's not a technical foul.
Except that you have 2 games that probably not many in here at least have played. This Kringle Caper and Vicious Fishes are a bit
That's true.
Rare. Also Buzz is a bit rare here.
Yeah, you just have to take my word for it on Vicious Fishes. I don't think there aren't that many copies in existence of Vicious Fishes, if I'm not mistaken.
Has Tom been gathering all of them?
He might. He's not getting a hold of mine. I've hidden it.
To the Dice Tower library.
Yes.
Yeah, but it doesn't look that bad.
No, I think
he's making fun of it himself.
It's a shame that it wasn't available in a wider distribution. Nestor Games is a pretty small boutique publisher, and so it was almost a print-on-demand sort of thing, and it would have been nice if it was easier to get a hold of.
Yeah, but it doesn't look that bad. I never looked at it earlier.
No.
Maybe Tom is exaggerating. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. And if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, I am at ericsummerer.com. I'm also on Twitter at ericsummerer. And if you like audiobooks, if you go to your local Audible marketplace, wherever you happen to be, and search for Eric Michael Summerer, you'll find one of those 250 to 300 audiobooks floating around. You can also sort by genre. So, I'd recommend not listening to the romance books, but, there's lots of sci-fi and fantasy and nonfiction there, too.
I have to check them out. So you don't want to promote yourself in the board game?
I'm also on the Dice Tower. We have the Dice Tower podcast. I am on every couple of weeks on the Dice Tower podcast, and also Dice Tower Tonight, which is a live video show that I host with Crystal Dax, and we play silly games and interact with the chat every 2 weeks on Wednesday on YouTube.
And if you haven't watched yet, go watch Eric's top 100 games of all time. There are some really great picks, and the videos are quite fun. Maybe not fun, but you can empathize on Eric's packing and moving and trying to find the games.
It was quite an adventure.
They're
for sure.
really, very well done.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
I enjoyed them. You were saying something.
No, it was an adventure to film, and we really enjoyed it, and I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, it was really good. Also the choices. Although the changing of the number 1 was a bit uncalled for. But you have to go and watch yourself to know what is the new number 1.
Sure. You'll be surprised.
Definitely. You have to change the song, by the way, for next
We would have to.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. You can find this podcast from SoundCloud with username Mitä pelataan. You can also find the podcast from Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Should be in Amazon Podcasts also at some point. And it should be found anywhere you listen to your podcasts. You can find me from Instagram and Twitter with username Mitä pelataan. There's a page in Facebook, Mitä pelata, and you can just search by Mitä pelataan and you should find me from many places. I have a blog, mitapelataan.wordpress.com, where you can find information about this channel and all the links to related media. You should be able to find me from YouTube as well by searching Mitä pelataan. You can send me email to mitapelataan@gmail.com. There's also a guild in Boardgame Geek, number 3321. Interact in any way you can, comment anything, up to you, but interact with me please. And if you listen this far, please leave a review, subscribe so that people find out about this podcast. And one more time, thank you for listening, and bye bye. The music used in this series was Nightwalker by Sentient Pulse. Thank you for that.